The sun had just begun to rise over the alien forest, painting the sky with colors that no human on Earth had ever seen. Elara, a young explorer of the distant human colony, stood at the edge of the settlement, her eyes fixed on the shadowy trees ahead. The settlers had always warned her about the forest, telling stories of a terrifying monster that roamed its depths. Some said it had glowing eyes that pierced the night, others claimed it could crush a person with a single swipe of its massive claws. Fear had kept most humans away, but curiosity had always burned in Elara's heart. She stepped carefully onto the soft ground of the forest edge, listening to the strange sounds of alien birds and rustling leaves. Every step seemed louder than it should have been, as if the forest itself was watching her. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from deeper within the trees, sending shivers down her spine. Elara froze, trying to remember every warning she had heard since childhood. Her heart pounded as the growl came again, louder this time, and something moved between the trees, faster than any animal she had ever seen. The monster appeared, its shape large and dark, almost blending with the shadows. Its eyes glowed like molten amber, staring directly at Elara. For a moment, she could not breathe, her mind filled with all the horror stories she had been told. But then, something strange happened. The creature did not move closer to attack, it simply watched her with curiosity. Elara realized it was intelligent, more intelligent than she had imagined. She slowly crouched and extended her hand, hoping the stories about the monster's ferocity were wrong. The creature tilted its head, observing her carefully, and then it let out a small, soft noise, almost like a question. Elara smiled nervously, feeling a mix of fear and fascination. She decided to back away slowly, keeping her eyes on the creature. As she turned, she noticed it following her movement, but carefully, not aggressively. When she reached the edge of the forest, she paused and looked back. The monster was still there, its glowing eyes fixed on her, but now there was no growl, no sign of anger. A strange feeling grew in her chest, a mix of hope and wonder. Could it be that the stories were wrong, and this monster was not a threat but something misunderstood? Elara felt a connection she could not explain, a sense that this creature might change everything the humans thought about fear. Back in the settlement, she tried to tell the others about her encounter. Most laughed or shook their heads, refusing to believe what she saw. Some warned her that she had been foolish to enter the forest. But Elara could not stop thinking about the creature, about its eyes, its gentle curiosity. She knew she had to return, to understand more, to see if the monster could be more than just a shadow of fear. That night, as the colony slept, the forest seemed alive with whispers. The glowing eyes appeared again at the edge, watching silently. Elara could not sleep, her mind filled with questions, with anticipation. She did not know what the next day would bring, but she knew her life, and perhaps the life of the colony, was about to change forever. The morning sun barely touched the tips of the alien forest when Elara returned, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. She moved carefully, leaving small markers behind so she could find her way back. The memory of the glowing eyes haunted her, but curiosity pushed her forward. Every rustle of leaves, every distant chirp of alien birds made her pause. She knew the forest held secrets, and she was determined to uncover them. Hours passed as she walked deeper into the woods, and then she saw it again. The creature was there, standing silently between two massive trees, its eyes glowing softly. It did not growl, it did not attack, it simply watched her. Elara felt her fear slowly mix with wonder. She stepped forward slowly, keeping her hands open, showing she meant no harm. The monster tilted its head, studying her every movement. It made a low, soft noise, almost like it was trying to speak. Elara remembered the warnings of the settlers, but in that moment, she felt a strange trust. She placed a small piece of dried food on the ground, and the creature sniffed it. With surprising gentleness, it took the food without showing any aggression. Elara smiled, a feeling she had never felt in the colony. The monster was not a mindless beast, it was intelligent, aware, and perhaps lonely. For hours, they stayed like that, silent, watching each other. Every movement of the creature seemed careful, thoughtful, and deliberate. It was clear it was testing her as much as she was testing it. But the forest was not as quiet as it seemed. A sudden noise of breaking branches echoed from the deeper woods. Ilara's heart jumped. She instinctively stepped in front of the creature, ready to protect it. A group of wild alien predators emerged, their eyes glowing red in the shadows. The monster reacted immediately, moving in front of Ilara, its massive body shielding her. It roared, a sound that shook the trees and sent the predators retreating. Ilara felt a mix of fear and awe. This creature, the monster the humans feared, was protecting her. It was strong, fierce, but also careful, aware of her presence. In that moment, she understood why it had watched her before. It had been judging her, deciding if she was friend or threat. After the predators disappeared, the monster turned back to her. Ilara took a cautious step forward, her hand outstretched. The creature sniffed her fingers and made a soft, curious sound. Ilara laughed quietly, feeling a bond growing between them. For the first time, she saw not a monster, but a companion, something that could be trusted. As the sun began to set, Ilara knew she had to return to the settlement. The colony would not understand what she had discovered. She felt the weight of responsibility, and the thrill of knowing that the stories were wrong. The monster followed her to the edge of the forest, keeping a careful distance. Ilara turned and waved, feeling a silent promise pass between them. Tomorrow, she would return, and perhaps she could show the colony that the monster was not their enemy. As night fell over the settlement, Ilara could not sleep. She imagined the creature lying quietly in the shadows, waiting, watching. A mix of fear, hope, and curiosity filled her heart. She knew the adventure was only beginning, and that the forest, and its mysterious inhabitant, held secrets she had yet to uncover. The next morning, Ilara could not wait to return to the forest. Her mind was filled with thoughts of the creature she had named Fluffy. She carried a small pack with food, water, and a blanket, wanting to show care and build trust. The colony remained unaware of her plans, thinking she was exploring alone for simple curiosity. But Ilara knew this encounter could change everything, if she could prove Fluffy was not a threat. As she stepped into the forest, she felt the familiar rush of excitement and fear. Every shadow and rustling leaf reminded her of the first time she had seen Fluffy. She whispered softly, calling out his name, and a pair of glowing eyes appeared between the trees. Fluffy stepped forward cautiously, his massive body tense, yet calm. Ilara knelt and offered him a piece of dried meat, and slowly, he took it from her hand. Days passed, and each visit strengthened their bond. Fluffy began to follow her deeper into the forest, no longer hiding in the shadows. Ilara noticed his intelligence in small ways, the way he solved problems, moved carefully through the terrain, and observed her gestures. She began to study his behavior, understanding his likes, dislikes, and patterns. It was clear he remembered every detail of their encounters, recognizing her as a friend and not a threat. One afternoon, a sudden rainstorm forced Ilara and Fluffy to take shelter under a large rock overhang. The wind howled and lightning split the sky, making the forest seem dangerous. Fluffy stayed close, his large body shielding her from the cold and wet. Ilara realized that this monster, feared by all, was capable of love, protection, and loyalty. She gently stroked his fur, feeling a connection that went beyond fear, beyond stories. Back in the colony, the rumors about the monster grew wilder. Some settlers claimed it had attacked travelers, others swore it was purely evil. Ilara knew she had to act carefully, showing evidence without putting herself or Fluffy in danger. She began planning small demonstrations, letting people see Fluffy's gentle behavior from a safe distance. But not everyone was ready to believe, and whispers of a hunt began circulating. One evening, while observing Fluffy near a river, a group of hunters appeared unexpectedly. Ilara froze, heart pounding, as they raised their weapons, ready to capture or kill the creature. Fluffy growled low, stepping in front of her, his massive claws digging into the earth. The hunters hesitated, sensing the intelligence and power in his gaze. Elara spoke firmly, warning them to stop, but the tension was unbearable, and danger was near. The standoff ended when Fluffy let out a deep roar that shook the ground. The hunters slowly lowered their weapons, realizing that this was no ordinary monster. Elara stepped forward, holding her hands out, signaling peace. Fluffy, though wary, stayed beside her, showing trust in her guidance. It was a turning point, a moment when humans could see the bond forming. Not just between Elara and Fluffy, but between humans and what they had feared for so long. As night fell, Elara and Fluffy sat together under the stars. She whispered stories of her childhood, dreams, and fears. Fluffy tilted his head as if listening, his eyes soft and intelligent. Elara knew their bond was real, stronger than fear, stronger than any story. For the first time, she felt hope that the colony could learn to love, not fear. And she knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new adventures, and new chances to prove that monsters could be friends. The sun rose over the settlement, casting long shadows across the human outpost. Elara felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as she prepared to bring Fluffy closer to the colony. She knew that some humans would never understand, but she hoped a few might see what she had discovered. Fluffy followed quietly, his massive body moving carefully, his glowing eyes scanning the surroundings. For the first time, the settlers saw him not from a distance, but up close, and many gasped in fear. The hunters from the forest still remembered their standoff and whispered among themselves. Some insisted the creature must be killed, calling it a monster too dangerous to trust. But others watched carefully, noticing the gentle way Fluffy moved, how he avoided harming anyone. Elara stepped forward, showing them the food he accepted from her hand. She explained how he had saved her from predators and how he was intelligent, aware, and loyal. The tension in the colony grew as the settlers debated, fear battling curiosity. Fluffy stayed calm, his massive eyes following Elara's every movement. Then, a sudden cry rang from the edge of the settlement. A young child had wandered into a deep ditch. The crowd froze, unsure of what to do, the fear of the unknown gripping them. Without hesitation, Fluffy ran forward, carefully using his strong claws to lift the child to safety. The crowd gasped, unable to believe their eyes. The child was unharmed, smiling and clinging to Fluffy's fur. Elara smiled, knowing this was the moment the colony would begin to understand. Some settlers cheered, finally seeing what she had been trying to show them. But fear still lingered in others, whispers of monster and danger still echoing in their minds. Over the next days, Elara worked tirelessly, taking small groups of humans into the forest. They observed Fluffy's intelligence, his playful side, and his protective nature. Each demonstration slowly chipped away at the fear, replacing it with wonder and admiration. Fluffy even began to interact with other humans, showing patience and gentleness. The colony started to see that what they had called a monster was truly a companion, a friend, and protector. But not everything was peaceful, the planet held many dangers. Predators, storms, and strange environmental threats reminded humans that the forest was not safe. Fluffy became a guide, a protector, helping humans navigate and survive in ways they could not alone. Elara noticed how humans began to admire him, telling stories to children. Fluffy became a living symbol of courage, intelligence, and the power of understanding over fear. One evening, the sky turned red with an approaching storm. The colony panicked as the wind howled and lightning struck nearby. Elara and Fluffy worked together, guiding people to safety, protecting the weak, and calming the fearful. It was a moment of unity, humans and monster acting together against the challenges of the planet. By the end of the storm, the colony had no doubt, Fluffy was not a threat, but a gift, a new companion for humanity. As night fell, Elara sat beside Fluffy near the settlement. She whispered softly, "You have changed everything." Fluffy leaned his massive head toward her, as if understanding every word. The fear that had once ruled the colony was fading, replaced by hope, trust, and admiration. Elara knew this revelation was only the beginning, and that Fluffy's presence would shape the future of humanity on this alien world. The morning sun shone over the colony, warming the buildings and the newly cleared paths. Elara walked beside Fluffy, proud and amazed at how far they had come. The settlers no longer whispered about monsters, they talked instead about courage, trust, and friendship. Children ran ahead, laughing and calling Fluffy by name, while he trotted behind gently, careful not to step on anyone. It was a sight that would have been impossible just weeks ago, when fear ruled the hearts of everyone. Elara felt a deep connection to Fluffy, a bond built on patience, trust, and understanding. She remembered her first encounter in the forest, the fear, the suspense, the glowing eyes watching her. Now, that same creature had become a protector, a friend, and a symbol of hope for the colony. Settlers came to see Fluffy not as a monster, but as part of their family. Even the hunters who had once wanted to kill him now watched with respect, admiring his intelligence and loyalty. Life in the colony began to change. Fluffy was not just a companion, he was a guide. He helped humans explore the forests safely, teaching them about the dangers and wonders of the planet. Elara often laughed as Fluffy playfully nudged children or helped carry supplies. The fear that once defined the settlement was gone, replaced by excitement and curiosity. Humans and Fluffy learned from each other, growing stronger and braver together. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the alien horizon, Elara sat beside Fluffy near a quiet river, reflecting on all that had happened. She whispered stories of Earth, of her dreams, and hopes for the colony's future. Fluffy listened quietly, his glowing eyes soft and gentle, full of understanding. In that moment, she realized that the bond they shared was more than trust, it was friendship, loyalty, and love. The colony celebrated Fluffy in small ways, children drawing pictures, adults telling stories of his bravery. He had changed the way humans saw fear, teaching them to look beyond appearances and to understand. Fluffy's presence reminded everyone that courage could be found in the most unexpected places. He became a symbol of hope for humanity, proof that what was once feared could become cherished. Elara knew that Fluffy's story would be told for generations, inspiring settlers to be brave and compassionate. As night fell and the stars sparkled above, the forest around the colony seemed alive. Fluffy wandered at the edge, watching over everyone, yet still hinting at his wild, mysterious nature. Elara smiled, knowing that their adventure was only the beginning, that there were more mysteries to discover. The settlers had learned to live in harmony with the unknown, guided by courage, curiosity, and the bond with Fluffy. And as she looked at him, she whispered softly, "Thank you, my friend, for showing us that even monsters can be heroes." The colony slept peacefully that night, safe under the watchful eyes of Fluffy. The forest no longer held terror, only wonder, promise, and the chance for new adventures. Elara knew that the story of the monster called Fluffy would live forever. A tale of fear turned into friendship, of courage and trust, of humanity learning from what it once feared. And somewhere in the shadows, Fluffy's glowing eyes gleamed softly, a gentle reminder that hope can be found even in the darkest places.